Imagine being on the stage of America's Got Talent. While everyone else is getting up, you're focused on Simon Cowell. He doesn't have to, yet he's not clapping. Lean back as Simon appears moved. Like a flash of lightning, you've accomplished something uncommon. Courtney Hadwin did that in 2018. She was only 13 when her strong voice astounded everyone. Courtney appeared poised for stardom after Simon took her under his wing and had his label support her. However, it didn't work out that way. All of it faded: the support, the lights, the glory. How did it happen? Where did it go wrong? Today, we'll explore Courtney Hadwin's ascent, decline, and surprising path. Now, where is she? Let's inquire. Merely a child. He never cries, according to Simon Cowell. He is the rugged person who has, without blinking, built stars, dashed aspirations, and done it all. But he nearly cried when he heard Courtney Hadwin sing for the first time. Although Courtney's path seems simple on the surface, the truth couldn't be more different. And America's Got Talent was the first step. Prior to delving into Courtney's AGT experience, let's review her journey to the show. Born on July 6, 2004, Courtney was raised in Hesleden, a little, former mining community in County Durham, northeast England, close to Hartlepool. Her parents, Paul and Anne-Marie, as well as her younger siblings, Paul and Melissa, reared her. Like many gifted young vocalists, Courtney's life was intertwined with music from an early age. When she was little, she started singing at home. Additionally, as she matured, she began to experiment with musical theater before using covers to discover her voice. Her desire to sing, however, didn't take off until she saw Connie Talbot on Britain's Got Talent. Courtney claims that at the age of 9 or 10, she started singing in a formal manner. By the time she was 11, she was a student at Hesleden Primary School. Shortly after starting at the academy, she sang Say Something by Christina Aguilera and A Great Big World at a lunchtime open mic at Shot 10 Hall. Locally, that video went viral as soon as it was posted to Facebook. She made sure to follow instructions, and her classmates were astonished by her vocal ability. Many of them instantly encouraged her to explore her soulful potential. She loved creating songs and singing them, after all. According to Courtney's grandfather, she started working as a busker in the neighborhood to help pay for singing lessons and family vacation expenses. Despite her little income, she was able to attend several local academies for her classes, such as Shot 10 Hall Theatre School, Kate Sir's School of Music, Peanuts Master Classes, and Vocal Ovation by Julie Miles. However, it wasn't until 2015 that she participated in her first significant competition, appearing on Teen Star UK in Newcastle. Here, she established her unique style early on and advanced to the grand final with her performance of Bob Dylan's Make You Feel My Love. At the age of 12, he won Hartlepool's Performer of the Year title the next year and advanced to the Beyond the Lights Awards finals. She also tried out for Open Mic UK in 2016, performing a rendition of Nothing Compares to You as part of her growing popularity on local stages. She performed as Sister Sledge's opening act at the South Tyneside Festival that same summer, in front of more than 18,000 spectators. This milestone demonstrated what many people started to realize. She was not just any local entertainer. She was destined to be a star. When the following year rolled around, Courtney was back on another program. It was The Voice Kids UK this time around. She was selected for Danny Jones' team after performing a ferocious version of Tina Turner's Nutbush City Limits during her audition. Dancing in the Street helped her move to the battle round. She then sang James Brown's I Got You, I Feel Good in the semifinal and ended the final with And I Am Telling You I'm Not Going, placing her as a finalist. During these formative years, Courtney gained a reputation for her unwavering work ethic. From the time she began taking lessons at the age of 11 into her adolescence, she continued to practice vocal exercises every day. These formative years, which had their roots in her small-town upbringing and were supported by open mic nights, contests, and live performances throughout northern England, influenced not just her performing style but also her will to succeed. And the fact that she had a solid support network ready to help her pursue her goals was very beneficial. Courtney's family's continuous support has shaped and supported her artistic endeavor from the start. In order to support her desire, her father took on side jobs, while her mother acknowledged her untapped ability, stating that the performance beyond expectations. helping to pay for gas and delivering pizzas so Courtney could travel throughout the Northeast to open mic events and auditions. Her family, especially her father, moved to Los Angeles to support her when she competed on The Voice Kids UK and then on AGT. He traveled back and forth to allow her to finish her education. Courtney's family continued to be her rock amongst the chaos of TV series, record agreements, and worldwide exposure. She has publicly acknowledged that they helped to keep her grounded, serving to keep her passion alive rather than converting it into pressure, and serving as a reminder of home. Even while her heart remained in Hesleden, their faith in her, rather than her notoriety or honors, provided her with a solid base that allowed her voice to transcend countries. Riding high on this support, Courtney gained enough notoriety and momentum by early 2018 to receive an invitation to try out for America's Got Talent Season 13. According to reports, the invitation was sent by show producers looking for foreign talent rather than a family decision to compete on Britain's Got Talent. It was ideal for the young Courtney, but she had no idea that it would alter her life forever and signal her transition from local celebrity to global star. Tremendous city, tremendous aspirations. Courtney, an English youngster from County Durham, was quiet and nearly shy when she appeared on the America's Got Talent stage at the age of 13. She appeared apprehensive, uneasy, and barely a star. Then, however, everything changed when Otis Redding's Hard to Handle opened. Her voice was unique, forceful, gruff, and older than her years. As it burst through the studio, the embarrassed schoolgirl who had entered through the curtains vanished. She was replaced by a new Courtney with unbridled energy, gritty voice, and complete command. The audience was also unable to remain composed. All of them were wondering how a girl this young could have such a strong voice. Even Simon was unable to resist the lure. No one forgot him as he sat still, stunned into silence, his trademark poker face cracking and the words tumbling out of his mouth. When you came out, you were this timid little person. Singing makes you feel like a lion. Courtney was sent to the live performances by Howie Mandel, who was the first to respond and press the golden buzzer. Then he said her voice was from a whole different time. He was also reminded of one of the finest blues rock vocalists of all time, Janis Joplin. However, Howie wasn't the only one who saw her genius. The video of her audition went viral in a matter of hours. And the video had been viewed over 310 million times by the time Tyra Banks introduced her later in the show. Isn't that insane? She was already being referred to be a generational talent or perhaps a phenomenon by fans worldwide by the time the quarterfinals aired. A generation like ours is fortunate to have had a singer like Courtney. She made her to both the quarterfinals and the semifinals, each time showcasing incredible performances that made it difficult to distinguish between an old soul performer and a child. Her fan base was global by the time she reached the finals. The crown, however, was ultimately not hers to keep. She finished 6th overall, which truly caught people off guard. AGT, however, was her breakthrough. She was given a worldwide stage and an American audience. She subsequently made a comeback to compete on AGT, where she won in 2019. Her course, however, had already changed by that point. Even though it wasn't his golden buzzer that got her into the live performances, Simon had a more intriguing plan. He signed her to his label, Psycho Music, in collaboration with Arista, shortly after the 2018 live performances concluded. Courtney, just 13 years old, was suddenly on her path to stardom in the music industry. However, managing fame and wealth is more difficult than it seems. Furthermore, the pressures of the industry quickly became too much for a 13-year-old to handle. Everyone desired a piece. Moments after Courtney left the AGT stage amid a shower of confetti, in the middle of 2018. The business wanted more than a viral moment, but the world was already watching her. They desired a celebrity. Almost immediately, stardom followed. Her audition was shown on chat shows and streamed on news segments worldwide. News outlets referred to her as the new Janis Joplin, the soul phenomenon from Britain, or even the 13-year-old who had legendary vocals. She quickly rose to fame in America and quickly gained popularity in the UK. When December finally arrived, the transaction that altered Courtney's life was included. In collaboration with Arista Records, Courtney signed a long-term recording and publishing deal with Psycho Music at the age of 14. She said that she was thrilled to be joining the organization in interviews conducted in the wake of the news. She called the opportunity a dream come true, especially as she was thrilled to perform original songs while remaining loyal to herself and the music she enjoyed. However, she couldn't have been more mistaken. Even though Courtney, then 14 years old, was unaware of it, there was a lot of weight behind all that excitement. She was only a teenager and was still getting used to breathing on stage. She was then abruptly expected to produce songs that could make the charts. Promotional appearances and interviews in an adult-oriented machine. What was she going to do with all these? Courtney talked about the mounting pressure backstage that season. She needed to add enthusiasm, close up the show, and perform. Not once, but each and every week. Additionally, the nerves threatened to overtake her despite Howie's encouragement, which kept her grounded, and his applause fueled her desire even more. Executives at the record started to establish her as a brand behind the cameras. Her appearance, her theatrical demeanor, and her sound were all pitched. The analogies to Janis Joplin were both alluring and deceptive. Suddenly, Courtney was caught between being the product that people expected her to be and being the artist she wanted to be. At the age of 14, she started working in studios with producers, industry managers, and songwriting teams, all pointing her in the direction of a polished pop-soul crossover. Still, Courtney was struggling to develop her artistic and literary voice. She then talked about how she felt like people were telling her what she should sound like and who she should be, and how she lost control of her course as her early adolescence went by while she was in studios. The experience was both thrilling and draining. With the intention of recording originals, she was traveling between the US and the UK. Create marketing collateral and maintain media readiness. It was excessive for an adolescent who was still living at home. Everything seemed alienating and unreal. Courtney was also secretly fighting to feel in control of her business, despite the fact that her raw energy was praised in fan mail and YouTube comments. The early buzz, however, persisted. The fire, stage presence, and mature roughness of her voice left critics in awe. Producers referred to her as a natural power. Her "Hem in like a hurricane" was hailed in Rolling Stone-style articles. In private, however, she acknowledged that even when singing original songs, she felt like a character being directed. She talked about how she had to compromise on topics or sounds she didn't really believe in during dozens of writing sessions. Before long, she was doubting whether this was who she was or what they wanted me to be. The weight of fame had come quickly. Although Courtney felt like a teenage girl torn between her own feelings and the weight of unending expectations, the world watched a star emerge. That tension was what paved the way for the subsequent events. Too much, too quickly. Fame is wonderful. Even better, it's fantastic. However, consider that you are a teenager who is not yet of legal age. The music industry is a confusing place to navigate, and it sounds like a miserable life. That's because it sort of was for Courtney. Do not misinterpret her. She didn't seem to mind the life, the fruits of her labor, or anything else that came with it. It simply came too soon and was too much. Courtney's world swiftly turned upside down after she joined Psycho Arista. Deadlines, meetings, and recording sessions suddenly became the center of her life. Not songwriting according to her wishes, but a strict assembly line designed to produce hits. All of these felt overwhelming to someone who had previously found satisfaction in the seemingly insignificant things, like creative autonomy. As we have often stated, she was just 14 years old. She also found herself in consecutive sessions where she was expected to produce polished pop-soul songs on short notice. In the UK, a normal day may begin with breakfast, followed by talks with label executives around lunchtime and a lengthy journey to a studio in the US by nightfall. During such sessions, other producers would frequently suggest themes, hooks, and beats that Courtney might not find appealing. And this was only a small reflection of how her creative input was often overshadowed by industry voices, she subsequently thought. As she worked with production teams and co-writers, she quickly started to lose interest in the songs she was recording. She voiced her displeasure in interviews about being forced to make a sound that suited a predetermined template. Slick pop production, filtered style, and compromised passion all ran counter to her rough vocal background. She was still figuring out who she was as an artist, but she was under pressure to fit in. What had once been fulfilling became unfulfilling as a result of that strain eroding her confidence. Her voice was older than most college students, yet her thinking was still a teenager's. Before long, Courtney started to experience mental fatigue. Backstage interviews revealed that she struggled to keep herself together while closing the show each week and carrying the intensity of the finale. Even if Howie and the fans were praising it, the internal burden was tremendous. She even acknowledged feeling alone while going across continents, surrounded by suits, and missing her home and authenticity. At this point, the withdrawal started. Slowly but steadily, it began. First, there were fewer social media posts. Her visibility in the mainstream media thereafter decreased. Soon after, fans started to worry and wonder where she had disappeared to. Were there disagreements about creativity? Is she sick? And what was worse? Supporters were not kept informed through public updates. This started to fuel rumors along with conjecture in the media. Was Courtney involved in an accident? Was she confined to a hospital bed? Courtney was gone. She remained here, simply withdrawing to take back her identity and get away from the stress. Courtney later teased upcoming material that felt angry and real, with lyrics like, "You only want me when I'm smiling," signaling deeper emotional undercurrents. She hinted that there was more depth, more pain, more honesty waiting to be unpacked. And with the rumor mills twisting and turning, everyone was eager to find out what had happened to the doe-eyed young girl who strutted onto the stage all those years ago. The silence between them. The years slipped by quietly. The industry never stopped chattering, but Courtney receded. Simon moved forward with the next season, already on the search for the next talent. And just like that, the connection between him and Courtney, that partnership, ceased. It became a transaction, and it faded into silence. From the outside looking in, it might have seemed like something more. But the truth is, Simon was never a personal mentor to Courtney. He was the executive who cast her, the gatekeeper who signed her, and he was also the man who appeared at public events, made the announcement, and then left her world to business as usual. And you couldn't even blame the guy. His job was to spot talent, not navigate its emotional fallout. Although Courtney never spoke publicly about bitterness toward Simon, many speculated that she harbored ill feelings toward him. After all, he was the driving force behind her joining the label. But even as a young girl, she understood the machinery of the industry, and she understood that Simon was only a part of it, not a confidant. Still, in hindsight, that absence felt meaningful. She was a product to be managed, rather than a young artist to be nurtured. Over the next few years, Courtney's activity on social platforms dwindled. She built trust with independent producers, and Kevin Ball was a turning point, but publicly, it seemed she'd disappeared. Meanwhile, Simon returned to his role as judge, executive, starmaker, with no mention of Courtney's turmoil, no commentary on how the system may have faltered, just the next audition and the next show. Even though life on the shoulders of a big company wasn't all it had been advertised to be, Courtney still held on to her love for music. Slowly, she began rebuilding. Writing, recording, and releasing music independently. Meanwhile, Simon watched from television screens and headlines, never implicating himself in the weight she bore. Critics praised her new voice as raw and fearless, but Simon's public narrative remained silent. Courtney finds her voice again. There's a certain beauty in regaining your agency. When it seems that all the world wants is to strip it from you. And by 2025, Courtney returned as a different person. After quietly stepping away from the AGT spotlight and her early label contract, she re-emerged as an independent artist, determined to create music on her terms. Her path forward centered on creative ownership, working with Grammy-winning producer Kevin Ball, known for collaborations with Etta James and Joe Cocker. She began writing and recording songs that felt true, not polished for radio, but honest in emotion. Among these were Monsters, You Only Love Me When I Lie, Breakable, and That Girl Don't Live Here, each exploring themes of vulnerability, anger, resilience, and identity. In interviews, Courtney emphasized just how different things felt. No top-down deadlines, no need to fit a label's mold. As she put it, everyone around me was telling me who I should be. Now I know who I am as an artist. She called this era a rebirth, consciously creating music that aligned with her own experiences. Both critics and fans had positive reactions. It was said that her hit, You Only Loved Me When I Lie, was a gritty blues soul ballad. Reviewers described it as her most emotionally impactful song to date, capturing the tension of concealed suffering and the bravery to speak the truth. With its September 12, 2025 release date, her larger effort, Little Miss Jagged, has even been praised as her most audacious and intimate piece to date. A stripped-down, microphone-free video performance of You Only Love Me When I Lie left watchers speechless, and fans were enthralled. She boomed like thunder and burned like fire, according to journalists who praised her sincerity and ferocity. 20-year-old Courtney has finally opened out about the emotional toll of her early celebrity, discussing exhaustion, losing control, and feeling pressured to perform before she was ready. She talked about how she struggled with her identity while dealing with industry expectations and how finding her voice was like finding strength again. Under her own rules, she made a comeback to the stage, her songs bearing resolve and wounds. The times when she sought praise were long gone. She now sought recognition and connection. The 13-year-old who caught Simon's interest all those years ago is still in his memory. He apparently broke his long silence on Courtney's career arc, according to a number of viral videos and popular retrospectives that surfaced recently. Since feeling is a luxury for him, he rarely appears vulnerable on camera, based on the video. He paused in the middle of the interview in these versions, though, which is unusual for him, and then sighed, as if he was carrying a burden he had neglected for too long. He is believed to have said, "We expected too much too soon," and subtly added, "She was a kid. We failed her, I believe." They said he had a cracking voice. His emotions were exposed, and he lost his cool. The judge that millions know is unflappable. Although no credible journalist or mainstream media has yet to document these remarks, it is clear that he is aware of her new professional path. Let's say, however, if these assertions were true. Imagine Simon silently thinking back on Courtney's formative years in the public eye. She had such raw fire at her audition that he would remember the shock of it, calling her a lion. He would then remember how soon that spark became into a flame that others attempted to control. He might explain how her independence to write songs was taken away by business schedules and how fame drew her away from herself. It's possible that he eventually recognized he had placed a small child in a machine that was too large for her. Simon's purported admission fades as Courtney reconstructed herself, working with Kevin Ball, abandoning her label, and putting out music that felt genuine once more. Her songs, such as Monsters and You Only Love Me When I Lie, are candid. They tear expectations apart and reveal the unvarnished reality. Courtney is more than simply the kid that went viral on America's Got Talent and sang her heart out. Now imagine her as a grounded artist. She continues to lead a personal life in the UK that strikes a balance between her family, ambition, music, and genuineness. She continues to live in County Durham, having left her label a few years prior and moved to foster a newfound sense of independence. Despite having a global fan base, Courtney's heart is still in the northeast of England, where she apparently shares a home base with a small but committed crew and still finds strength in her local heritage. She continues to maintain relationships with Peter Lee and friends from her early habits in Hesleden. She writes actively as well. Diana sometimes says in interviews that she does her best work when she is alone at home, with her laptop and her thoughts aligned into poem. Her activity on social media has remained active ever since the break. With more than 1 million followers on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, Courtney is actively involved in the digital space not for marketing, but to build relationships. She posts behind-the-scenes studio photos, informal discussions about mental health, workout routines, hairstyle changes, such as trying out a straighter, flaming red look, and weekend images from her life when she's not busy creating something in the studio. Supporters say her material is sincere and refreshingly honest. She talked candidly about social media's difficulties in a live stream this year, stating that TikTok might occasionally feel too much to handle. However, she values YouTube since it provides a pressure-free platform for her to express her life and music. She often holds Q&A sessions on Instagram stories and gratefully responds to fan comments. Due to her openness about her experience with mental health, therapy and introspection are becoming more commonplace, something that many young artists avoid. Her posts frequently discuss self-care, limits, and growth. She expressed excitement about finishing her album, but not at the expense of perfection, stating in one interview that she wanted the process to seem authentic rather than contrived. After leaving MNTWS, she joined with the new management group, Total Artist Management, led by Oliver Mojita, in early 2025, claiming that artistic disagreements prevented her from taking advantage of chances. She has been scheduling shows in the US, Europe, and the UK with her current group. She has performed in London at venues including Fiddler Elbow and is planning more extensive tours. One of the highlights was her April 2024 Carnegie Hall performance, where she was handpicked by Clive Davis to launch a gala and pay homage to Janis Joplin in front of legendary figures in the business. The event received a lot of media attention and was hailed as evidence of her increasing artistic recognition. Courtney now leads a life centered on personal development and artistic endeavors. Despite her rare trips and studio visits to the US, she spends most of her time at home composing and recording with Kevin Bow in preparation for the September release of her debut album. She is purposefully unafraid to switch styles between songs, as seen by interviews and album snippets that showcase a variety of genre experimentation, including rock, soul, and punk. Every track feels like its own mood ring, she even jokes. Her followers are aware that she embraces change and doesn't hesitate to demonstrate the procedure. Viewers celebrate when she shares a picture of her home office or a disorganized bookcase in her studio, or when she recently finished penning the lyrics for the day. Because of her openness, she has been able to keep a sincere relationship with her audience. She's accomplished more than just being famous. It has a reputation for being genuine and brave. Courtney has stated clearly in 2025 that she is not after celebrity. By living simply, creating truly, and exposing her flaws before they become apparent, she is fostering it according to her own rules. By doing this, she is constructing more than just a musical career. She's taking back her story. If there is one thing we can learn from Courtney's experience in the business, it is that the entertainment sector in general doesn't seem to be prepared to deal with kid stars or talent. Being a grown-up in this setting is already taxing. And how much more for someone who isn't even old enough to drive? Luckily, Courtney managed to get over it. Through the commotion, she emerged a different person with a fresh outlook on life and music. Even if her road wasn't particularly easy, she never wavered under pressure thanks to her perseverance and hard effort. What do you think about Courtney's path? Tell us by leaving a comment below. I appreciate you watching. To ensure you are informed anytime we post a new video, kindly subscribe to the channel and leave a like.